Yo, I promise if you guys drop a like and subscribe right now, you will win your next game of Warzone. All right, what is going? What is happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be jumping into a top 5 fastest killing guns here in Warzone. These aren't going to be like the statistic best guns to use of all time. These are just going to be the guns that have the fastest time to kill. Whenever you pick them up in Warzone, this will literally take somebody out the fastest. And the reason I'm saying they're not always the best is because some of them, they do really well, but they have some attributes to them that makes them not as, usable as some of the other guns that are in the meta right now. But with that being said, I'm going to do my best to give you guys the top classes for them so you guys can kind of enjoy them and use them to their maximum effectiveness. If you guys think you're enjoy the video, give it a like. Also, subscribe with all notifications turned on. We're on the road to 800,000 subscribers. So be asked if you guys could join the squad. Really would appreciate that. And comment down in the comment section below, what is your favorite gun to use in Warzone right now? So for our first gun here today, we're going to be taking a look at the AS Val. And the reason we're taking a look at this gun is because this is statistically going to be the fastest time to kill gun in Warzone if you're hitting your shots. And the one caveat to this gun is that it does not go over that 30 rounds as well. It has a really fast time to kill. It can be a little bit not as beneficial to use in certain situations, like if you're playing duos, trios, or quads, because you have to take out somebody more than one person at a time. You really aren't going to have as much ammo in your magazine that's going to be able to be left with that. And if you start missing shots, I mean, well, it could go downhill pretty quickly. But this is the fastest time to kill, so let's actually jump into this. The first thing we're gonna do here is add on a barrel, and we're gonna go straight down to the very bottom and add on the VLK 200mm OSA barrel. This is gonna give you the maximum damage range and the maximum bullet velocity possible that you can get out of this gun. So you guys should always run this barrel attachment here on this gun. There's no reason for you guys to run any of these other ones. It really doesn't do you any benefit at all, to be honest with you. So just always run the VLK 200mm OSA barrel. For the underbarrel section, what we're gonna go ahead and do here is we're gonna go ahead and throw on the Ranger foregrip, and what this is gonna allow us to do is going to be able to control that recoil. This gun does happen to have a decent amount of recoil in comparison to the rest of Modern Warfare guns, so this is going to give us the most amount of recoil control and aiming stability we can possibly get. You guys can swap this out for something like the Merc foregrip if you really want to. I've definitely done that before as well, and it's worked actually pretty nicely. Something that could definitely help you out in those closer quarter situations. I guess it just more or less depends how you want to be able to run this thing. If you want to be able to run it like maybe like an AR, kind of like with a sniper rifle, then maybe you want to run something like the Ranger. But if you run this like an SMG or something like that, you guys can definitely run it with the Merc foregrip. It's just kind of a little bit more personal preference here, at least on that regard. But for right now, we're gonna throw the Ranger on there. As I was saying with the magazine here, I mean, we basically only have the option for the 30 round magazine, so we're just gonna go ahead and throw this on here because this is like literally the most amount of ammo we can possibly get. So I would just suggest always running this. This is like a guaranteed must use attachment. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just use it. For the rear grip, what we're gonna do to even mitigate some of that recoil just a little bit more is we're gonna throw on the rubberized grip. This is actually going to be super awesome, at least in my opinion. I've actually used this in Warzone a decent bit and even in multiplayer, which it definitely does help out with that recoil control. So you guys should definitely use the rubberized if you do happen to have this unlocked. You can run something like the stippled if you want a little bit more speed and you don't care as much about having a ton of recoil control. But for those of you guys that really wanted to minimize this and make this thing a laser beam, you won't have as much mobility, but you will have a lot more recoil control, which is definitely super awesome. So the rubberized is going to be a fantastic addition to this gun. And last but not least, we're going to go all the way down here and we're going to run the VLK Strelok. This is going to give us the most recoil control, aiming stability, and aim walking steadiness. Basically, this build right here, if you want to run this more or less like with a sniper rifle, or even sometimes as a bit of a primary, probably like a solo or something like that, you could definitely do it. But I would say that you should probably have a sniper rifle as your backup or something like that, just because, I mean, this is not a gun that you're going to be using with a scope on it. So this is definitely not going to function as good as a primary AR, but more or less like a hybrid to a backup role. That's just going to be where this gun is going to have its strengths. But when you actually do hit your shots with this thing, it is incredibly fast. This is literally the fastest time to kill gun in the entirety of Warzone. Out of all the weapons in there, this is it right here. The AS Val. It's really annoying in multiplayer, but it's even more annoying to die to in Warzone. Next up in here is actually going to be the Cold War FFAR. This is going to be one of the other fastest time to kill guns in Warzone. As we all know, when we jump into Superstore or something else like that, or we find, a ground loot FFAR, we're like, okay, we are set until we can get our loadout drop. Like, that's literally what I'm always looking for, is like a ground loot FFAR. If I can run 2 FFARs from the ground in Superstore, I will genuinely do that. It doesn't matter if it's, gray, green, or blue. I will take one of the varieties varieties, and I will, always run that until I get my loadout. So for this, what we're going to do here is we're going to jump into the muzzle category. We're going to go down to the very bottom, add on the agency suppressor, sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. They nerfed the agency a while back. They buffed it, they brought it back to what it was, and then they buffed it here a little bit more. And so the agency is a must-use attachment on all Cold War guns. This is definitely what I would say is the equivalent to the monolithic suppressor in Modern Warfare. This is definitely, a competitor, basically just as good, if not better. So you guys should always run this. Now for the barrel section, what we're going to do here is we're going to go all the way down to second from the last and run the 20.3 takedown barrel. This is going to give you some fantastic bullet velocity. It's also going to increase your strafe speed. This is not really used as a primary AR. You guys can definitely use it as a primary AR. If you're going to do that, I would suggest using something like the 19.5 reinforced heavy. Of course, you're not going to get a lot of that movement, which I do actually really like having the movement. So, I mean, this is kind of one of those things that I run the FFAR as like a secondary, like I run like, an AUG and then an FFAR, or maybe I run an AMAX and a FAR. It's just kind of one of those things, like I'm not using this as a primary gun more often than not. I've only done it like once or twice, and I made a video about how you guys can do it, but it's just not one of those things that I would suggest doing. But for me, the 20.3 takedown is going to give you a crazy bullet velocity and some strafe speed, and also has no cons to it, so you really can't go wrong. For the underbarrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to use the field agent grip here for that horizontal and vertical recoil control. This is going to be the best grip you guys can possibly run here with your FFAR. There's no reason for you guys to run anything else unless for whatever reason some of these get messed with and they get buffed or nerfed or whatever, so on and so forth. And if that's the case, of course, you guys know I'll be making some videos on it, so if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. But just run the field agent grip. In the ammunition side of things, what we're going to do is we're going to run the Salvo 50 round fast mag. This is going to give us the maximum ammo capacity, and it's also going to allow us to reload very fast. So it's basically like a 2-for-1 type of deal here. You get the most amount of ammo, and you can also reload really fast. That's why even in my video yesterday when I talked about the MP5, I said you have to run sleight of hand on it, because you have to compete with stuff like this that has 50 rounds and a fast mag built into it. So I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that, like, some of the Cold War guns have that 2-for-1 deal, which is awesome, and that's why this thing is so incredibly effective. And last but definitely not least, what we're going to do here is we're going to throw on the Raider stock. This is going to give us the ability to move around incredibly fast, ADS firing move speed, a walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. I mean, this is just going to make you a walking, moving machine. It's going to be kind of crazy. You strafe, a lot. So if you can't control some of the speed, like I said, you can definitely adjust the barrel or something like that. But for me, using the Raider stock in combination with a takedown barrel, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. This thing is amazing. Super fast time to kill as long as you're hitting your shots with this thing. I mean, you can strafe around back and forth super quick, and that can cause you to miss some shots. But if you're hitting them, the enemies are going down. For our third gun here, we're going to be looking at the CR56 AMAX. One of the reasons this gun is so incredibly good is just because, I mean, it hits so incredibly hard. It doesn't have the fastest fire rate out there, but the way it hits, its damage per bullet is absolutely incredible. And that's why you see so many sweaty players using this thing. Well, myself included. I really like the AMAX. So let's just jump into this here. The muzzle category, we're going to throw on the monolithic suppressor. Like I said, you always want to run the mono or the agency, depending on which gun you're on. So we're going to be using the mono on this gun here. Next up in the barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go add on a heavy barrel, which is going to be the XRK Zodiac S440 for that damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. The trifecta out of your barrels, what I like to call stuff in Modern Warfare. Absolutely amazing. This is going to be the best barrel to use, and realistically the only barrel to use. You shouldn't really use any of the other ones. There's no real benefit to using them. They're just not that good. For the underbarrel side of things, what we're going to do is we're going to throw in the Commando foregrip, and this is going to be fantastic. There's no real reason to complicate this anymore and to like try to throw in like a Merc or like something like, a Ranger. You can definitely do it, but there's no real benefit unless you really want some more recoil control. But at that point, you're going to be slowing yourself down in terms of your movement speed and your aim down sight speed, so it's just really not going to be all that beneficial to run one of those, so we just run the Commando. For the ammunition side of things, what we're going to do is run the 45 round magazine here. This is going to be the only option we really get besides the M6710 round magazine, so just go ahead and run the 45 round mag and you'll be taken care of. I mean, like, it's really the only option you got. And last but definitely not least on this gun, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go add an optic on here, and that's gonna be the VLK 3x optic. This is gonna be the standard for all Modern Warfare ARs in Warzone. I mean, you just want to run this. No doubt in my mind, you always want to run the VLK 3x optic. This thing is amazing, and I would suggest, if you happen to have this on any of your Modern Warfare guns, to always use it if possible, because, I mean, the sight's incredibly clear. I mean, you're really just have so much benefit out of this thing. I really like it. And this is gonna be my full CR56 AMAX class setup, a really fast time to kill gun in Warzone. I mean, if you got deleted by it, you probably can understand. I mean, you know, it's one of the fastest killing guns in the entirety of Warzone. And so here we get to the number 4 slot, where I was talking about a gun that realistically is not that viable, but it's got a really fast time to kill, and that's going to be the Fennec. The reason this thing is not as viable is because it's not as mobile, and it also doesn't have the greatest reload speed, so you kind of have to maximize your class here a little bit differently. And I really don't see people running the Fennec, but it's got an incredibly fast time to kill, so you guys should at least check this out here. So what we're going to do here is we have the option to go in the muzzle or the barrel, and this has the integrated barrel. So what we're going to do is we're going to add on the ZLR 18 Deadfall. This is more or less your integral monolithic suppressor. Damage range, recoil control, bullet velocity, and sound suppression. This is basically like running the agency suppressor, but you know, on a modern warfare gun. This thing is incredible here. So you guys should always run the ZLR 18 Deadfall, because we are going to need that extra attachment slot for something else here a little bit later within this build. For the underbarrel section, you're going to want to run the Merc foregrip, and the reason you're going to want to run that is even though it's not going to be the greatest for your aim down sight speed, this gun is primarily or basically exclusively going to be used for close range combat. So there's no real reason you don't want to have the most amount of hipfire accuracy you possibly can with this thing. So the this Merc foregrip is going to be my best option here. I mean, you could definitely run something like the Commando if you really want to, but the Merc is going to help you out more in those close quarter situations where this gun is going to exclusively shine. So you guys should just definitely do that. For the ammunition, we basically only have this option right here. I mean, the base magazine is really bad, and we only have the 40 round drum mag. I wish this went up to like 50, or like we had like a 60 or something like that. I think that'd be awesome, and that would make this a lot more viable and usable in the meta. But that's, I think this is one of the downfalls right now, is that it's only a 40 round drum. So you guys should definitely just use this. This is basically the best attachment for the ammunition. You always want to use this, by the way. You never want to leave it out. Next up, we're going to be in the rear grip section, and we're going to go ahead and add on stipple grip tape. This is going to help with our aim down sight speed and sprint to fire time. This is going to be super crucial for when we get into those engagements where we need to be able to basically just bring this thing up super quick, which is, I guess, essentially every engagement that you use this. So more or less just run the stippled all the time, 7 days a week, 395 days a year. Just go ahead and use it. I mean, there's no reason not to. And the reason I said we were saving an attachment slot is because what we're going to do here is we're going to add on a perk, and that's actually going to be sleight of hand. And I normally don't like to run sleight of hand as a perk attachment on more or less any of my guns, whether it be public matches or Warzone, but this gun in particular definitely is going to require it. If you want to use this anything outside of solos, you're going to need sleight of hand. And even when you do run it in solos, you're probably still going to need sleight of hand, because the reload time on this thing is absolutely abysmal, and you just genuinely need to be able to reload faster. So run sleight of hand. That's why I said we can run the integral barrel there, which is basically our barrel and our suppressor. So that's why you guys should just definitely run this. This is a fast time to kill gun, but it's not necessarily going to be the most viable. Still really good. Definitely should give it a shot, but you guys will see what I'm saying. Like, it's not necessarily like, you know, the best, like a Mac 10. Okay, so now we're throwing in the last gun here, which is actually something that is more or less, it was kind of in the meta, then it was out, now it's kind of slightly making its way back into the meta, and that's going to be the Gallo SA12. And the reason we're throwing this in here as a fast time to kill is because essentially at close range of this thing, even without all the barrels working correctly, this is going to be like a 2-hit kill, and you can really spam this thing incredibly fast. The only downside to this is that it's going to have a bad reload time, because you have to reload all the shells individually. It's not like a tube magazine where you just take the tube off and, you know, put another tube in there. It says it's a tube, but it's not like, you know, you literally just pull the tube off. So for this, we're actually going to go into the muzzle category. What we're going to do is run the agency choke. This is basically the agency silencer, but for shotguns. This is going to be the best attachment you guys can run for this thing. I would always suggest to run this no matter what. And if you don't happen to have this, you know, go play some plunder or something like that to level this shotgun up, because I mean, you're going to need this, like seriously. For the barrel section, what we're going to do here is not all these are going to work the way they're supposed to. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the best one possible, which is going to be the 21.4 reinforced heavy barrel. What this is going to do is going to give us the maximum fire rate we can possibly get off this thing, and is also going to somewhat increase our effective damage range. I don't think it really works all that much, because I mean, the barrel's a little bit glitched, but it's going to give us the maximum fire rate possible, and it should also increase your effective damage range. Whenever you see this video, hopefully it's patched and fixed and everything, but it's still going to be the best barrel to run regardless. So just run this. Now in the laser section, we're going to go all the way down to the very bottom and run the Ember sighting point. And the reason we're going to do this is because this is going to actually help. This will help our effective damage range and our hipfire accuracy, which we definitely want. I mean, it's a shotgun, it's gonna be using close quarters, so we want to be able to make sure our hipfire accuracy, you know, is good. And so this is gonna be what I would suggest to you guys to be able to run. It's gonna be the best one in here. For the ammunition, we're just gonna run the Stenag 12 round tube. I mean, it says it's gonna negatively affect your aim down sights time. That's entirely okay. You basically need to be able to have those 12 rounds in the magazine. You're gonna have to reload them individually, so the more you have in there, more or less, the better. I mean, that's just, you know, I don't know, it's just gonna help you out. If you run into more people at once than you're normally used to, having 12 rounds in a magazine and a shotgun can be very beneficial. The only thing that actually be better than this is maybe running something like a street sweeper, because that can go up to 18, and that's also like fully automatic, but I don't have the street sweeper unlocked, and there's a good chance that some of you guys out there don't have it either, so that's why I want to use the Gallo. And for our last attachment here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw on the no stock attachment. This is gonna give us that sprint to fire time, our maximum sprint to fire time, which of course is gonna be very crucial for us in close quarter situations. This is going to be the final attachment on this gun. This thing is really lethal at a very close range, and I mean, it will beat out an AS-Val, a MAC-10, an FFAR. Like, it will destroy everything else in there, as long as you can actually, you know, hit some of your shots because you're close. That's the caveat to it, is you have to be really close in order to be able to make sure that this thing works very well. So definitely go ahead and use this thing. I mean, it's interesting. Very interesting, actually, and also very fun to use. So give it a shot, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty fun. So that's my top 5 fastest killing guns, statistically speaking. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you are brand new, turn on those notifications, comment down in the comment section below. With that being said, I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow with a brand new video. Just remember to triple cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.